So that way.
I'm a big fan of original characters. If you don't know me, that's what like half of this channel is about, original characters. And I'm working on a webcomic that I have original characters for. So, you know, original characters are kind of my thing. But I've forgotten about a lot of them. So I thought in this video I'd find some and I'd redesign them, revamp them into maybe how I draw them now, or just better versions of themselves that I know that they can be. No offense to younger me, but I've seen your sketchbooks. There's some questionable stuff in there. Anyway, let's just get straight into it. The first original character I'll be redesigning was made in 2019 and was named Lee. Or, as I thought it was pronounced back then, Lay. She was actually a Marvel Sona, because that happened. She was one of the main things I was posting on Instagram, which was my first time sharing my art on social media. And she was one of my favourites. She lasted for 9 months and then disappeared into the abyss of forgotten characters never to be seen again. Until today, or a few weeks ago when I started on this project. Since I already had a lot of fleshed out about this character, I was quite happy with how she is, you know? And I couldn't get rid of her bright red money pieces that is a staple of her design. As she's a Marvel Sona, she had to have powers. Her powers were being able to produce and control electricity, because that hadn't been done before. She gained those powers after an accident at Oscorp involving Lee's mother. There seemed to be a trend with a lot of my OCs lacking mothers. Anyway, she lost her mum and gained superpowers. At first, she was seeking revenge, using her powers for evil and all that, until she had a change of heart when she couldn't go through with finishing someone off, as you do. She now helps people she feels deserves help. Does that make sense? Is that a sentence? Not entirely a hero, but not a villain either. An anti-hero then. For the pose, I took inspiration from this drawing I did of Lee in 2019. I roughly know anatomy now, sometimes, so I should be able to draw it a little better and not make it look like her shoulder is dislocated. I wanted her to have a bit more of a confident, almost cocky personality. She was occasionally a little silly in my original design of her, but after drawing her for so long, I think that got lost as my art became more restrained. In her original design, she was 17, most likely because that was the age I was when I first made her. So she's probably a bit of a self-insert character, I can't lie. But for her redesign, she's 19, simply for variety in my characters. I have too many 17-year-olds. She has scars on her hands from where she first tested her powers without wearing any protective clothing. In her old design, I kept them hidden by giving her gloves, but I like to think that now she's happy to show her scars. She'd wear jeans over her supersuit like Peter B. Parker in Into the Spider-Verse, wearing sweatpants over his spider suit. For Lee, she's not really interested in being a superhero or villain, but if trouble or an opportunity arose, she'd need to have her suit on ready, so she doesn't fry herself using her powers. But one of her shoelaces is undone, so she can be a little clumsy. Gotta include that in her design. I gave her her red denim jacket that became a staple of her character further down the line. On the back, it originally said Zap, but I feel like that's a little bit on the nose. Maybe that's what would be her phone wallpaper then. These are important character development questions. What's on your OC's phone wallpaper? It says a lot about a person. For instance, mine's a duck. So, I did make another Marvel Sona towards the end of my Marvel Sona phase called Lyrebird. She was Lee's arch nemesis, but now that I'm thinking about it, they would date each other eventually. I don't make the rules. I totally make the rules. They're dating enemies to lovers style. They're girlfriends, okay? Since she's supposed to be a comic character, I added little sparks and whatever the yellow details are called. Emphases? Sure. Marvel, if you're watching and willing to add a fan character, let me know. You can have her. Sure, she was made for the Infinity Saga era, but I'm willing to make changes. Marvel, hit me up. Obviously, I'm joking. Unless. I'm actually really happy with how she turned out. She looks like how younger me envisioned her when I made her. Weird to be talking about me like that. Okay. She looks like how I wanted her to look 5 years ago. Okay, that's better. And as someone who struggled drawing clothes and shoes, to be able to draw jeans and, are they sneakers, I guess? American? Yes, sneakers. What are they called? Trainers. They're called trainers. Anyway, I'm just really happy that I can draw them now. It's the little things. The next OC I wanted to redesign was my OC Charlotte, or Patchwork. She was made by 14-year-old me, and she was a creepypasta OC. Yep. Her original design had rainbow hair and patchwork skin, hence the name. I'm not too discreet about it. She wore a dress that looked like it had been caught in a shredder, and in this 3-page comic I found, she got adopted by Slender Man. So this should be fun. I couldn't find a reference to Patchwork's age in any of the drawings she appeared, but I'm pretty sure she's supposed to be a child from, she's short in it. Her redesign is sort of like Frankenstein's monster, but I'm just going to refer to him as Frankenstein. You know what I mean. She was reanimated with an amalgamation of body parts, but after her creator abandoned her, she is forced to take care of herself. When her skin starts to decay, she uses parts from other people that are, no longer with us until that part decays and we go around again. I'm imagining this is one of those stories where she does find a father figure eventually who has to look after this weird child to teach him the meaning of, I don't know, something, responsibility maybe. For her pose, she's in the process of stitching herself back together, using her teeth to try to pull the thread tight. She's a child, she doesn't know needlepoint. With her redesign, her skin is in a constant state of decay, so she needs to keep replacing parts to look healthy. Although the tapestry of different skin and stitches sort of give her away. For her outfit, I gave her dungarees and a t-shirt with an animal on it. Halfway through, I realised I'd given her Wade's top from Animal Crossing, but we move. I think I was trying to make a point on TikTok at the time why Wade was my favourite Animal Crossing character, and his design was stuck in my head. Her outfit would be asymmetrical like her, even with odd coloured socks. She's a little misfit. I was dreading her hair since I don't like using every single colour for one character. I feel like it could get a bit much. Instead of the bright rainbow hair she had in her original design, I made it look more washed out with her roots showing an uneven sides so that it looks like she's not too fussed with the upkeep of her hair, as she is with the upkeep of her skin. I wanted it to look like she was the one who dyed and cut her hair herself, but maybe that random father figure I mentioned earlier gave her a hand with the rainbow part, as it looks semi-professional. Do you know how hard it is not to mix the hair dye colours and get them in lines? I had half pink hair at one point in my life. It seemed like a good idea at the time, but it was so hard not to get it to mix. Anyway, that's besides the point. I'm not as up to date as I was with creepypasta characters, but I'm pretty sure Patchwork here is a little too bright to be a creepypasta. I'm not as happy as I am with her redesign as I am with Lee's, simply because she doesn't feel like an OC I'd like to have anymore. She's an animator's worst nightmare for one. She's far too detailed. And even as an OC, she'd be so tricky to get looking the same in every drawing of her. Maybe that could be justified, that she keeps changing because she keeps having to replenish. But it's easier to just say she's not an OC I'd ever draw again. Back in the box she goes. The next OC I want to redesign is Skylark. She was created in 2018, I think, but I rarely ever drew her. She was more of a one-off character design that only made cameo appearances in my sketchbook, and most of those drawings don't even have a face. But that was what used to happen to my old OCs. I was drawing a lot more fan art than my own original characters because that's what I enjoyed drawing at the time. I don't think I have a coloured drawing of her that survived the major clear out I had when I thought old drawings weren't worth saving, and now I deeply regret it. But from what I can remember, she was blonde and wore pink, so that's not much to work with. Skylar's old design was a bit basic and bland. I just wanted a character with angel wings, and that was that. There wasn't much thought into her character or story at the time I made her. All I knew was that she had wings, and a girlfriend who had antlers. But because this character was such a blank slate to start with, I felt that I could go further into this redesign and give her more of a story without feeling too guilty to past me. Her initial character was probably a teenager, since almost every OC I ever made back in the day was never over the age of 20. In her new design, I decided to make her older. She is an angel, so she's already centuries old, but physically her age is late 40s. Angels can die of old age, they just age up much, much slower than every other species in my idea of this story that I have in my head. In this story, it's angels versus monsters. All angels wear a sort of armor even when not in battle because you never know when the monsters could strike and because it looks cool. I know a dress isn't very practical for battle, but since she has wings, I imagine her not using her legs in a fight and only maneuvering with her wings. Sort of like how a sea angel moves, if you know what I'm on about. She has a porcelain prosthetic arm after she lost her arm in a battle with a monster. Her new arm has sharp claw-like fingers in case she fights close range, and a spear for long-range attacks. Since angels prefer to keep their distance from the monsters, you know, or yeah. Story. As soon as I started drawing her, I felt that the name Skylar didn't fit the character anymore, so from now on I will be referring to her as Skylark. You know, the bird. Anyway, that's her name now. These angels would be charged with hunting down and exterminating monsters, no questions asked. But when Skylark is on her way to deal with Ingrid, her girlfriend with the antlers, she hesitates and all that, questioning her mission and whether they should be killing all monsters, sort of like a Beauty and the Beast story, but with layers. They'll fall in love, get married, save the world from collapsing in on itself, it'll be great. Of course, there'd be angst thrown in whenever there's an opening. If you know me, that won't come as a surprise. I love watching characters struggle. My own character struggle, at least. Whatever other media I consume, I need the characters to be in happy relationships and nothing bad permanently ever happening to them, and they both survive in the end. Okay? Thank you. I didn't think too much about the colours at the time, but now I'm looking back on it, I can say that they were completely intentional because her armour has a slightly blue tint as well as her wings, and blue was the colour I used to represent Ingrid. And her wings have a splash of pink on them, which was Skylar's original colour. So there you go, I knew what I was doing the whole time. Giving her white hair was actually intentional, not the spiel of nonsense I gave you just then. I gave her white hair because I thought that blonde would blend into her wings a bit. Not much symbolism behind that creative decision, but just I don't want it looking like she has feather hair or hairy wings. Anyway, I really love how her design turned out so much that it almost makes me want to turn her story into another project. But I already have 2 big things I'm working on. The Grievances with the Witching Hour comic and an entire book for my other OCs that are yet to see sun rays. So for now, Skylark needs to sit on the shelf and wait her turn. But until then, maybe I can redesign her monster girlfriend Ingrid. If that's something you're interested in, let me know and I'll start rifling through old sketchbooks to find other OCs I've forgotten about. I think out of the 3, Skylark is my favourite of the redesigns. She's just got so much more to her and actually feels like a redesign, not just me seeing how I draw now. A drawing update, I guess. I've changed her. She's changed. Thank you to my patrons for your support. It was fun sharing this project as I was working on it with you. It was great to revisit some OCs I haven't thought about in years. And thank you for watching if you've made it to the end. If you like this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more. I'm aiming to make more longer videos in the future because I do enjoy making them, despite them taking so long to make. But I'm getting quicker. I am. As long as I don't forget about making this video has been in the works for over a month, but that's just me forgetting it existed. Anyway, that's all for now, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!